was my favorite class today. Today, boys and girls, we're going to talk about one of the last lessons for the agents of socialization. We're just going to discuss social isolates and maltreatment, just a little, and how it pertains to social development. Well, you guys have learned, we've discussed the agents of socialization. We've talked about the family and how important it is, and the adolescent, the peer group, and technology, and school, and individual clubs and organizations that people belong to, and how they can all contribute to socialization. But think about an individual that has grown up, that has not experienced those things, an individual in isolation. Well, in the Western world today, that's pretty uncommon. That's not a very likely thing to happen. But in our history, that was not so uncommon. We can just look back. Most of you viewing this would be of Judeo-Christian background of varying degrees, so you might have an understanding of a story, or you might have heard of a story, the story of Moses. Moses, when Moses was born, he was a baby, he was disposed of. He was put in a basket and he was pushed out into the Nile River. Well, I've been on the Nile River, and I can tell you, if you expect a child to survive, putting them in a basket on the Nile River probably not going to be a positive outcome for that child. So, in situations where there are people putting children in baskets and pushing them off, the law of averages, some of these children have to survive, and they might end up surviving outside of the confines of civilization. Another example would be the founders of Rome, the ancient founders of Rome, Remus and Romulus. They were thrown out by their mothers, and a she-wolf felt sorry for them, and rather than eat them, took them in and nurtured them, and they grew up as members of the pack. Well, that's the legend. I don't know how true that is. In ancient Sparta, as soon as a child was born, the first thing that was done was that an elder looked at the child and looked for any form of deformity, anything that was outside the confines of what they would consider the norm, or what would make a good, strong Spartan. And if there was anything there that was not fitting, the child was thrown out. So, throughout history, social isolation has been a phenomenon that has occurred from time to time, not so much anymore in the Western world. So, could that have negative, derogatory effects on the development of a person? Yes, most certainly it would. We know, we've learned about attachment theory, we know how important now it is for social contact. We are social beings. It is very difficult for us to move through life without social contact. And I don't have to tell you people that now, you students that now, because we are socially isolated from others, and I know that's just wreaking havoc. Like, some people are having a very difficult time with that. That's because we are social beings. We are meant to be with other people. That's just how we have evolved. Now, the other thing I was going to mention is abuse and neglect. And neglect is probably the most common form of abuse in the Western world. And neglect creates all kinds of issues developmentally for children as they grow up. And that's concerning because these children grow up to be the individual members of society. And some of the derogatory things that come of that are usually relate to relationships. Individuals have difficulty with trust. Individuals have difficulty in relationships based upon the difficulty with trust. The others would be, the other forms of maltreatment would be just flat out abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, what else? Physical, sexual, mental abuse. A child that suffers those abuses in varying degrees will have drastic outcomes on the development of the child. So that's about my quick summation, a little lecture for you on social isolation and maltreatment in relation to the agents of socialization. Children that are not lucky enough to receive the attachment that is required developmentally, socially, are a little behind the curve developmentally than others who do receive that. And that's a shame, because those individuals then grow up to be contributing members of society and usually have issues with trust, and usually that relates directly to their interactions with significant others. Anyway, that's your lesson for today, boys and girls. Have a good day.